right. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back to What She Said, everybody. This Shanola girl checking in. I hope y'all ready for a good show. I planned an excellent show, so I hope y'all are ready. All right. So if you saw my last video, it was about basketball. Now, I'm not ESPN, so I don't know how easy it's going to be for me to switch between sports, but I've always covered both sports, football and basketball. But sometimes I don't think the algorithm like it. So if you see the video, make sure you hype it up. It's a really good video. Again, shout out to women's basketball for the WNBA for the first time ever getting a payment for revenue sharing. They get to join in the profits. Yay! They knew their worth. They pushed forward in 2020. They secured it. And in 2025, with the increasing popularity of the sport, new teams added, new growth. These women are getting paid on average probably about $45,000 to $50,000, since there's about 15 teams with about 12 to 13 players on the roster. Shout out to the WNBA players for knowing their worth and for pushing for what they believe they should be paid. They should have ownership into some of the profits. Why not, right? They doing the work. So hopefully others can be inspired from this type of thing. But I did a video about it, so go check it out. All right. So I had some good conversation today. I don't know if I would call it it wasn't a verbal conversation. It was a text exchange, like not text, let me be careful. I guess like a social media, you know how you respond to people's posts or whatever. So I told y'all we will be talking about following up with after the passing of Rondell Moore. I said there was a conversation I wanted to have from a former football player that was in the NFL. And while that's true, I switched football players. So I'm going to take the one I had today and move it till tomorrow, because I got another football player that responded, and y'all going to like this. Y'all going to like this one. But first, let me give a huge shout out to Emory Hunt. Now, last time we talked about Emory Hunt, I wasn't too happy with Emory because he didn't discuss the sabotage with Shador. He just kind of talked about some things. And I felt like with his platform, especially with CBS being Shador Sanders friendly, that he had the opportunity to mention the sabotage. But since it's a corporate station, I guess maybe they didn't discuss that in their morning meeting, so he didn't do it. But what he did today, I thought was courageous, right? He talked about people are making comparisons to Shador Sanders and Mendoza. Now, Shador Sanders is light years ahead of Mendoza. Mendoza is a check down king. That's clearly the way the NFL wants to go. That's how they want to get their preferred quarterbacks of choice. And they seemingly are on the path to push down the talented quarterbacks like Lamar, like Shador Sanders, Malik Willis, just kind of, using him to pit him against Shador or any other black quarterback rather than sending him to a team that needs a quarterback like Minnesota. But he can't go there because the current QB1 is white. But it's okay for him to be pit against Shador and or Deshaun and stack black quarterbacks like triplets. I just started right before I went live. It seems that Malik Willis and Ty Sampson from Alabama are on the radar for the Browns to get. Earlier today, what did I say? Everybody can have the word trade associated with their name, but not Shador Sanders. So we're just going to have to see what happens. I can't let these people get on my nerves. But shout out to Emory Hunt. This is what he said. It says CBS's Emory Hunt believes there is no QB in the 2026 class who is better than Shador Sanders. Facts. Even projected number one pick, Fernando Mendoza. People have said it. Fernando Mendoza is not a number one pick. That's just what they prefer. This is not about talent, because if he was a number one pick as a check down king, why wasn't Dylan Gabriel a number one pick as a check down king? Am I right? Why wasn't Tyler Shaw a number one pick as a check down king? These are all facts. This is just what they want. They tested it out with Tyler Shaw. They tested it out with Dylan. And they feel like based on the particular team and city that he go to and how loyal the fan base is, they can slide in a check down king and prop him up, and the fans will go for it. So this year was experimental, and now they want to roll out and scale out the check down king. That's where we headed, people. And what did I say about the WNBA? Fans got annoyed with the WNBA last year because they thought propping up somebody that they preferred. I told y'all the WNBA did this crap first. And I said the NFL saw what they did and was like, ooh, I want to do it too. I want to have a great white hope too. Well, that great white hope decided to stay in school at the University of Texas. And I've said it before, and I will say it again. I like Arch Manning. I don't think this is Arch Manning. Arch Manning gives me Joe Burrow vibes, but the people around Arch Manning and the people who want to use racism as a weapon are pushing this kid up to win the Heisman, and he hasn't proven that. Pushing this kid up to come number 1 overall, just like Mendoza. Pay attention, and he hasn't proved that either. So if they can slide in Mendoza at the 1, then I don't need to pretend to be interested in Cam. I can shun a Shedeur Sanders or a Trinidad Shambliss. Pay attention. Last year was experimental to see if they could get away with it. And they did. They took the best quarterback in last year's draft, and shout out to Emory Hunt, this year's draft, and pushed him down because he's black for a white quarterback. And Mendoza is the experiment to get it at number 1. Right? You should pay attention. So, because that's what they want to do with the Manning kid next year. So if you swallow it with Mendoza, you're going to swallow it with the Manning kid and for the foreseeable future. And then eventually the NFL will learn like the WNBA, and it might take a little longer because the league is larger and more vast in terms of teams and fans. Fans want good sports. We don't want to deal with your racial politics. And the WNBA learned that last year. One of the most popular ball clubs was not the Indiana Fever. It was a brand new ball club out in California called the Valkyries, because people want to see good basketball. So understand that the NFL is chasing down a great white hope, just like the WNBA did. And it backfired on them. And shout out to the players that's getting paid. So let's get back to Emory Hunt. So it said there is no QB in the 2026 class who is better than Shedeur Sanders, even projected number 1 pick Fernando Mendoza. In quotes, Emory Hunt, there is not, and not even Fernando Mendoza. I have a higher grade on Shedeur Sanders than I did on anybody in this draft class, Hunt said. So shout out to Emory Hunt, because I know it took courage to say that, but he is at CBS Sports, which is, friendlier towards Shedeur Sanders, but he's correct, right? And I have to give him credit where credit is due. At least he said that, because all we're hearing is the Browns need another quarterback because they don't have one. And they don't consider Shedeur their viable option for next year, but they won't consider trading him. See, I have a problem with that. You don't want the kid. You don't want to commit to the kid. You don't value the kid. You abuse the young man, but you don't want to trade him. I need you to understand. You need to explain that. And if you can't do it in federal court right now, maybe next year will be better, because the way things are today, they may not be tomorrow. The U.S. women's hockey team declined to go to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. People are getting arrested overseas faster. It will get to this side of the pond eventually. Might be a little painful, but it's going to happen. And then maybe after that, people will straighten up and fly right and realize how expensive racism and pedo behavior is. Because if you notice, a lot of the pedo behavior that's being caught, those people are also caught being what? Racist. They use the racism to deflect from the more sinister pedo behavior. So shout out to Emory Hunt for telling the truth. All right, so we'll have to stay in tune with him as the season goes. And like I said, I give credit where credit is due. All right, so y'all know Leonte Weston came back to Colorado. I have a clip of that. And for those of you that didn't see the podcast earlier, Shedeur Sanders checked his post office box. So he has quite the post office box haul. And he's going to share it on his YouTube tomorrow. And it's just packages, double stack, triple stack, quadruple stack, lined up for a long length of time in a very big hallway. So I'm excited. It feels like a virtual baby shower. I said that earlier. So check that out. All right. So let's talk about who I had a conversation of, who responded to my, I guess you could say, my tweet on social media. Okay. So I will share it with y'all. So what the conversation was about, just to give you a little context, following Rondell Moore, his passing, the conversation is gaining in intensity. People are starting to more and more talk about it. And I've talked to different people on different platforms. I talked to one NFL player, and he shared his perspective with everybody. And I just put a question in the comments, and he answered it. And then while I was on X, the same thing happened. There was a conversation being had from a former NFL player, and he shared what happened with him and how he survived it. And I asked the question. So what I'm getting ready to share is the question that I asked. Okay, and who it is that I asked the question of. I think the who is why I moved him up to today instead of tomorrow. All right, so here we go. Okay. Sharing my screen, and then we'll make it over to Leonte. Welcome everybody. Hit the like button on the way in. Okay, here we go. All right. So as you can see, the person that I was asking a question to and that responded is Coach Brennan Marion. So let me tell you what he posted, and then I'll show you what I posted. Let me make sure y'all can see it. All right, you can see it. Okay, so Brennan Marion had posted, this is the offensive coordinator, I do believe, at Colorado. I didn't even click on it. I just saw the name, and I believe that that's what it is. You got a blue check mark. It said, thank God for the ball that saved my life. It said, tore my ACL in the last play of conference championship game in my senior year. After being projected 1 to 3 round pick, then I rehabbed, got in the 2 deep with fins, tore it again 7 months later in camp. So it looks like before camp, he was projected 1st to 3rd round pick. He was drafted. Well, he rehabbed it. Then he tore it again in camp. And it said after being in Sports Illustrated. So he was getting visibility. He was getting closer to his goal. It said, and on ESPN First Take about my life story, got put on injury settlement. Injury settlement is exactly what happened to Luke Floria last year when we were following the Browns, and he had that terrible hamstring injury or calf injury. So he got waived and put on injury settlement and released through the rehab process. Screw came out of my knee, and I had another knee surgery. So a couple of surgeries. It said the next year decided to coach, fell in love with it. But hearing family members and friends say I quit on my dream, use me for money, talk bad about me, I decided to give it one more shot. So the pressure. So what he's describing in detail is the pressure. And these are the things that Route Guard was talking about yesterday. And I said these are the types of things that you cannot allow to determine what, for you to put your mental health in jeopardy because people need stuff paid for, and these are young people we're dealing with. We have to remember that. So having a good support system is obviously crucial, right? So we'll just keep going. And I decided to give it one more shot. I ran 4.2 and a 4.3 for scouts. Thought NFL teams were going to sign me. Then the lockout happened. So I don't know what year this was, whatever the year was the lockout. Some of y'all might know. It says, so I decided to go to Canada because I needed reps and wanted to get back on field. I tore my ACL the first practice because some goofy assistant wanted to see me do one-on-ones after practice. I had a horrible surgery experience, spent time in ICU. Mind you, I was alone, no family, no friends. I called on God in the hospital, said, Lord, if you get me out of here, I promise to help every kid I come in contact with. People laughed at me. I was brokenhearted, depressed, lost, confused, but I had breath in my lungs and wanted to help kids. I went back and started coaching kids on crutches. I didn't even have a vehicle. Kids would come pick me up. My friend and I at the time got my car. My friend at the time got my car impounded when I was in Canada. It said all the woman who loved me left. I took the money I had saved and got a small loan from grandparents and started the coaching journey at West Valley and Harker School. It said the NFL called again. I decided to not go for a workout, but that was my dream. Let me make sure I read it right. It said the NFL called again. I decided to not go for a workout, but that was my dream. In other words, I guess it was his choice. After 6 knee surgeries and on my right leg in 4 years, I decided to stick with God's plan. All right. So he turned to God, right? And we talked about how I'm happy Travis got baptized because life happens. And sometimes people think that that's it. And I said yesterday, I'm happy that Travis got baptized because if something happens, something unexpected, he can survive. He can lean on God. We see Shador, Coach Prime said it, growing in his faith before the draft. And now we see why, because he was going to need it. He was not going to survive that. What people don't understand is they were actually trying to break him. And I don't know Coach Marion, but when he was talking about the goofy assistant that wanted to see him do the one-on-ones, were they trying to break him? I mean, we seeing a lot of that. And I actually saw video, and maybe we'll look at it tomorrow, of a few people talk about Rondale. But there was this one chilling video. And I didn't prepare for tonight, but we're gonna look at it maybe tomorrow. He was on the field, and I've seen pictures of him, and his eyes, he wasn't okay. On the field at practice for the Falcons, one of his teammates asked him, "Are you okay?" He said no. And you could see it in his face. Now, there are people, young people, sometimes they wait for somebody to ask them, is everything okay? As if we should be able to see it. And then that's a big mistake. But when people ask you and you say no, and you go on and you keep pushing and you keep pushing, that's what happens, right? Now, one of the things about Rondale Moore's story and others that I find really disturbing is how bad things get with no help, knowing that the NFL has CTE. But I would say I've got pushback twice now about the CTE topic. One from the guy I was going to talk about today. He don't think that that's it. He thinks that narrative is bad because people look at CTE and don't look at other things. And I was like, huh? But we'll get back to that tomorrow. Then there's Coach Marion. So let's see the question that I asked him. So I thank Coach Marion for sharing his perspective. The end of it says, no person, place, possession, alcohol, pill can help you when you are going through pain. You need a real relationship with God. Now, I don't know if he means pain mentally or pain physically from the number of surgeries he had. Prayer and my daughter, Mariah, carried me through the darkness. 99% only love you when it's sunny. Thank God for the ball that saved my life. Now, I understand that football saved his life, but was it the NFL? No. It seems like as long as he was in the NFL, he was constantly having all of these surgeries. Now, I have already questioned, challenged some of these injuries, some of these surgeries. People said Baker Mayfield was pushed up to have surgery when he didn't need it. And we had just got to Cleveland. So I wonder sometimes injuries, we already talked about injuries being used for the team's benefit, especially with Black quarterbacks with these season-ending injuries. When white quarterbacks don't have these type of injuries, they get turf toe. And the players are out for the season. They're moved out the way. They can play the player they want to play and get paid for it by insurance. We've talked about that. We've heard about people having surgeries that don't need surgeries. And how do we know, what was going on here? But in hindsight, he probably can look at the surgeries and think maybe that was God telling him, you need to move on. Because what did we talk about? Just because you can screw a water bottle onto a light fixture in your bathroom, it might fit, but does it belong there? And I think some of these guys with these injuries, like Rondale Moore, didn't see that part because maybe at the time they didn't have that relationship with God. That's why a lot of athletes go to Bible study. Fellowship of Christian Athletes in high school. A lot of players and a lot of across all sports would get together and they will go to Bible study. I was a cheerleader. I don't know if I was on that list, but I knew it was there and I know it continues. Russell Wilson and his wife had Bible study. In fact, they were having Bible study with DK Metcalf and invited Normani. And now Normani and DK Metcalf are engaged to be married. So they still continue the Bible study. And those are the people that they hang with so they can survive as couples, so they can, grow together as friends, and so they can help each other in their careers, right? Sierra, Normani are both in the music industry. Russell Wilson, DK Metcalf helped play for the same football team in the NFL, right? So there is purpose to them having a relationship with God, especially, and one of the things they have to admit to themselves, you have to admit to yourself that racism is baked into this league. The NFL started out of white supremacy. You have to remember that. It didn't go anywhere. And when you put on the glasses that allows you to see the reality that racism is baked into it, then maybe you stop and start to question some of the surgeries. Maybe you stop and start to question some of the injuries. Maybe you stop and start to question why they keep stacking black quarterbacks together, why it is black quarterbacks keep getting sacked excessively. Maybe when you start to be realistic about you're playing for a league where black people, for the most part, especially these young black people, are getting CTE, and they want to now link it to black people's health care overall and your socioeconomic status when all of y'all are millionaires. You need to see the racism is baked in. Maybe if you look at the reality of the race norming suit that they just settled and educate yourself, that they said that black people's brains are dumber than whites, then they don't care if you get CTE. They only paid the $1 billion settlement so that discovery didn't go to court and the fans find out about it. Maybe if you educate yourself on how they devalue black players, you can stop and ask yourself, do they give a damn if I bang my head too many times and get CTE and the quality of my life diminishes? The answer to the question is probably no. If they said your brain was, you were already too dumb, you couldn't possibly hurt your brain, but white people could hurt their brain because the cognitive functioning is higher, then you have to admit you're working for people who are racist against you, and you will likely end up depressed by forcing yourself to stay in that environment. And at some point, you will turn around and regret that you listened to people who wanted money from you, who wanted clout from you. But that's part of the maturing or maturation process. So these guys are really young. And I love when they tell their story because you can see the part where they haven't matured past what the hell another person thinks. If you didn't give a damn what another person thinks, maybe you wouldn't have put so much pressure on yourself. But again, part of the maturation process, part of how you grew up, part of your current environment. Are you surrounding yourself with good people, or are you shallow and you just want people around, not people that have your best interest at heart? They have to put on the reality of who it is they're playing for and understand the history of this league. You can't just look at the money and think you're going to grab it like off of a money tree without consequence, because there will be consequence. It's facts. We've been paying attention to this league consistently damn near 365 days for 1 year. And one of the things that you can walk away with is it's racist. Racist against black quarterbacks, racist against black coaches, racist against black GMs. And now they don't have money for Isaiah Likely. So it's not just quarterbacks anymore. You don't have the luxury of saying, I'm coming to this league. It don't matter. I'm not Shedeur Sanders. I'm not a quarterback. Coach Prime, not my daddy. It was never about Coach Prime. That much is obvious. So let's look at the question that I asked of Coach Marion, and I thanked him for answering the question. So I appreciate him sharing his perspective as well, right? It said, I said, Coach, do you think given the recent deaths of young, talented NFL players, do you believe young American football players should continue to wrap their identities up solely in football, meaning eat, sleep, play football, rinse, and repeat? So let's look at his answer. It said, anything one becomes passionate about, they overextend themselves to become great at it. It said, it's hard to tell someone that loves something not to love it or how to love it. You can't change someone's heart. It said, God is what saved me when I was in a dark place, and I trusted his plan and not my own. So what do y'all think about that? That was his response when I asked about the whole wrapping yourself up, football is everything mentality. Now, I get it. Before social media, before NIL, that was the mantra. But I don't think it should be the mantra going forward. And I get it. I'm a passionate person. I'm passionate about this podcast. I am. And sometimes people, y'all know I date a chef. He like, babe, you coming to bed? You know, and sometimes I have to catch myself. So I understand. I have to, you know, balance things out. I have to prioritize. I have to make time for other things. But see, the difference is I'm passionate about it. I know there are other people in my life I have to pay attention to. There are other things I have a career I have to work on, right? I can't neglect those things. But if I lost this podcast, I would be sad. I would be sad because I didn't know I was going to do it. It's fun. I enjoy it. You know, I don't think people know who I am from it. So I'm not in the newspaper or anything like that or a magazine. But if I made it to that point where you got some of these people out here with 100,000 subs, maybe I would be sad because maybe I would miss people recognizing me in the Kroger or something like that. I doubt that happened. But you know what I'm saying? But the difference is this young man took a weapon and chose a very violent way, as if he was in some kind of pain and he needed to make it stop. And we already know that he was struggling with depression. But the choice of ending it all was so violent. I don't just rest at it was because he can't play the sport of football. Because like Coach Marion said, he actually got a call back from the NFL and declined. And then we think about Shiloh. We right now, based on what happened with his snowboarding, we know if they call tomorrow, he's going to go back. So what I'm saying is, I get it, the part about the passion. I still think we have to address the next generation coming out of college, coming out of high school, elementary school, whether it's flag football, it doesn't matter what it is. You can't let young people solely wrap their identities into a sport hoping to get to a league that does not value them because they're Black. You cannot allow, regardless of race, a very young person to worship coming to this place from a little bitty tyke when CTE isn't discussed, even though it's problematic and it's more prevalent than you realize. Some people leave college with CTE. Whether you white, Black, purple, green, or brown, CTE is real. That's why some players retire early. They're like, you know what? I'm out. So I get the part about the passion. And I want y'all to tell me what y'all think about his response. I can see his perspective in terms of you can't tell young people that this is what they want to do. They're going to stop it. But who introduced these young people to this sport? Now, if you sat there and you found it on your own, as a parent, you do have to guide them and say, listen, I want you to play football, but I also want you to have something else going on for yourself. I think we owe these kids that. I think we owe all the kids in college. Football is not going to be in everybody's future. Only 1% are going to make it, and that's make it there. But then what about injuries? How often is it talked about? It's less than 1% when you think about the injuries. I think we owe it to these kids who want to play this sport to educate them, one, of the dangers of the physicality of the sport in the way that they're forced to practice intensely and play just as intense, which is more wear and tear and more risk of brain injuries. I think we owe it to these kids when they put on shoulder pads at 5, 6, 7, and 8 that you could get injured. It's a lot of kids whose football careers come to an end in elementary schools because they had a broken arm, or middle school because they had a broken arm and a leg, and their parents like, that's it. How about before we put the pads on, we look at all of the aspects of football? Maybe go play 7-on-7, maybe go play something else. Because if we don't talk about CTE, we don't talk about the very small number of people that make it, and we don't talk about even after you make it, injury can set you back, and we don't talk about how short the career span is on average of 3 years, and we don't talk about the racism that's baked in against Black men, players, coaches, executives, and probably the janitors. If you don't sit down and have all of those conversations and level set your kids' expectations, that's how you end up on the tragic end of things, because I don't know what to look for with CTE, because I don't know to look for CTE. And when you have former players saying that the CTE narrative can mess things up, whoa. Just looking at him, you could see something wasn't right. And listening to him and looking at him in that video with his teammate with the Falcons, well, are you okay? No. If you're somewhere and you can't be human, you don't fit. They already talk about how in the NFL, I heard Terry Crews talk about it. He did an interview back when he was trying out for the Washington, must have been Redskins at the time, maybe the Commanders, I don't know. But he talked about how he and his family lived off of $200 a week because they didn't get paid in camp. And he got cut the week of the first game and he never got the game check. He said he watched how white players got coddled with injuries, but Black players were, you good. That's the racism that's baked in. And that type of disparity with treatment with injuries based on race is no different than injuries with CTE. So you can't say the CTE narrative messes things up, and that's not what it is. Did you check? I was told that NFL players have brain scans. They have access to brain scans. Do you use them? Or do you feel weak for going to ask for a brain scan? Should you even trust the NFL to give you a brain scan? The same NFL that a medical staff punctured Tyrod Taylor's lung and the doctor still worked there. And the other guy was given 15 to 20 Advil a day till his kidneys failed for pain. I have not been wrong about a lot of things since we've been talking about Shedeur at Colorado. And I'm not wrong about this. I said some of these guys are in denial. They know CTE exists, but they don't want to have the conversation. They want to focus on the depression. They want to focus on all of the pressure. You can focus on all of that. And whether or not you choose to play football because people are pressuring you because they want money from you, or you want to impress some chick or some dude, or you want to not appear weak on the field, CTE is real in all those cases. Do or don't. It's real in all those cases. And just because you have access to brain scans, do you use them? And should you trust a league that has punctured the lung of a quarterback that looks like you? And all of the Black quarterbacks are the ones with the severe injuries, and insurance companies are paying their salaries, but white quarterbacks get turf toe. Should you even trust their goddamn brain scan? No. You should, if you hire a chef, you need to hire a nutritionist after you talk to a neurologist. And you need to, like Shai said yesterday, have quarterly, not brain scans, but cognitive tests to see if your cognitive functioning is failing. Because once upon a time, around 2021, they didn't want to pay you for CTE because you were already too dumb for your brain to be injured. That's their words, not mine. There's a whole lot happening here. And we owe it to these young people to steer them correctly. Oh, I love football, but I don't love how they treat Black players and coaches and executives. So guess what I'm watching? More 7-on-7, more basketball, more lacrosse. Because God damn it, I can't sit up here and be traumatized because you want to be willfully ignorant. That's what it is. When you say things like that, you're choosing to be in denial for some reason that will not benefit you once you get CTE. One of the players, I think it's Eric Dickerson. He's dealing with Parkinson's. And what you think that stemmed from? Brain injuries. All you worrying about getting to the money, or you gonna be able to spend it, or the people that want you to play, that's who gonna spend it, because you're not gonna be able to. Your quality of life will decrease along with your cognitive functioning. So if you give a damn about yourself and you need to prioritize yourself, you will hire a neurologist the moment you hire a chef. No point spending $1 million on your physical specimen of a body, but not worried about your damn brain. And if you wait around, they blame you for being black and having CTE, and all their skilled players become white, because we've already heard the narrative with the Browns, then you really gonna be sick when they push you out, because they've done it before. No prior warning. Ban all black players from playing in the NFL in 1932. All the players got together and decided through a gentleman's agreement that's what it would be. And do you know why? Because after the Depression, which was in 1929, white people didn't have jobs and had to catch the bus to work. So how can we employ black people? So they don't give a damn about you. At some point, you have to start giving a damn about yourself. Nothing has changed. The way they feel about you is the same, which is why they make your life a living hell to get the money that you went there to get. So let me know how you feel about the response after the question I asked. I get it. I get it. But however, and that's where I'm going to leave it at. However, we owe it to these kids to steer them correctly. All right, so that was Coach Brennan Marion. I thanked him for his perspective. I thought it was great. I hadn't heard that perspective. So it was useful. It was helpful. And he made a new fan. So shout out to Coach Brennan Marion. Go Buffs. All right, so let's get over to Leonte, who came back to see you, and Janiyah came back to YouTube. Thank you, Jesus. Janiyah, y'all know I love Janiyah and her content. And I missed all of the game videos and stuff she was doing when she got her eyebrows tattooed. So I'm gonna have to go watch that. But she's back. She posted, I'm back. I miss her on YouTube. So I'm glad she's back. So I'll be following up her and I'll come back to y'all. But of course, go watch her channel, Janiyah's Gallery. So now Leonte went to visit. I think I heard Bucky say he brought him up to Colorado. And I would tell you, when I saw him walk in with that Ravens helmet, my heart melted. I was grinning from ear to ear. So let's get into it. Shout out to Bucky, by the way.
Silence today, I'm telling you. All that talking. We quiet today, on God.
For those of you that wanted to see some highlights, here we go. These are by Bucky, so they're not copyrighted. So shout out to Bucky. I think we're gonna see that Baylor catch. Yeah, that has to be the best set of highlights around.
I know it. I feel it. I feel it, bro. It's a different when you feel it. This shit gotta be in you, not on you. This new unit, but this shit that's in us, you feel me? This shit that's in us, you heard me?
There's Jimmy. Bruh. Every time. Leonte is a dog, bro. Look at Travis, Will Shepherd. Man, these are memories. These are good memories. Oh, Marion. There's Leonte. He and Marion got a little dance. Oh. And let me say this, right? I would love to see Omarion in the league, whether he on Shadua team, whether he on Leonte. I would love to see the Pro Buffs link back up. I would. But now that I know what I know, you can't look at it like that. You can't look at it like that, because you just holding your breath and hope he don't get cheated, regardless of where he went to school. And you holding your breath and hope that he doesn't get devalued or doesn't be set up to be injured, to move out the way or retaliated against, because where he went to college or whatever, because he friends with Shador, because he likes Shador. What, you want him to come over to the league and ignore Shador? That ain't gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. So while I hope that I get it, you have to be realistic. You have to be realistic. So we celebrate these memories. That's Shador. They picked up their QB. That's Cam McHale. He must have been injured. There's two. There's our two. Oh.
Smooth.
And Jimmy. I'm him.
I'm here.
He definitely is that.
I'm fucking here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That little dance. I saw somebody else in the NFL do that dance. Look at this. Look at the love, right? Man, I look at Jordan Steaton in the store. I was grinning ear to ear when I saw this last night.
Leonte want to work out. You know, I guess he's too good for us now. He don't have his Colorado card no more. So.
Why you play?
Who is it?
Your future wife.
Now let me just say something right fast. Let me just get in here real fast. I was already thinking Bucky gonna slide in a wedding on us. And when she got to the door and he asked her who was it, she said your future wife. I said, see something else I'm right about. I ain't always right, but I've been right a lot. I think these two gonna get married. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. I see it coming. I see it coming.
Stop playing with me.
Or I didn't know what you was doing.
Yeah, I see that. I see that coming. I can't wait to see that engagement ring.
Come see our dick. I'm sorry, Mr. Dick. I'm just playing.
See you.
Remember I was sprinting in here.
I don't remember that. My dog Leonte. That boy got his helmet and everything.
Look at Leonte. All these cameramen.
How you doing?
Is one of them Bucky's?
Nice to see you.
Miss you,
I'll see
boy.
you.
Miss you too, man. What's up?
Good, how you doing?
How you doing?
Good, good. How you doing?
How you
Hey,
doing?
how are you?
Chilling.
How you doing?
Good.
My dog Leonte is back in the building, man. He got his Ravens helmet.
Look at his Ravens helmet. They must let them take their helmet, huh? Oh, that's the practice.
It's just my Friday shit. It's just Friday.
Never have Stephanie, man.
My bro got the Ravens helmet, man.
It's good. He's out, man. Gotta come out with boy. My boy Bucky, boy, he helped me out, boy, a lot, though.
Nah, you helped me out, man.
A lot, boy. I can't thank you enough, cuz.
I can't thank y'all enough. Yeah, she when y'all left and shit got a little wicked, man.
He said when y'all left, things got a little wicked.
I'm telling you, boy. I'm looking on YouTube. I'm like, dang, Bucky don't even post like that.
Bro, it was hard to post games. It was hard to post shit.
I'm like, man, he trying to make the best out of nothing for real. Can't blame you though, bro.
It was hard to post anything.
So, okay, go watch it. Go watch it. Coach Prime comes in later. So go watch it. Shout out to Bucky for the footage. It was nice to see Leonte back at CU. I think Bucky said he brought him out there. So let me know what y'all thought about the video. But I do think Bucky said he brought him out there. And I'm going to head over to the comments. I had one video. I want to see if I can find it so I can share it with y'all. Maybe here it is right here. Let me save it. And I'm going to share this with y'all. All right. So I'm headed over to the comments in a minute, but I have one more video I want to share before we get over there. All right. So let me know what y'all thought about the video with Bucky and Leonte coming to town. It was just a bunch of memories and it was heart-stirring. And of course, that Baylor game. But Leonte is right. He is him. He's a dog. So it'll be interesting to see how his season goes in Baltimore. Now, this is the difference. And we have talked about this, right? We talked about how different teams or have different energies, vibes, cultures, right? We talked about the Browns being unserious, dysfunctional, and the owner took offense to people saying that it was the team is dysfunctional, and it is. It's toxic, and he's responsible for creating that culture. If he went to court, a judge would tell him that he's solely responsible, because he's hands on and he makes all of these decisions, like bringing in Deshaun, but people bringing Andrew Berry, right? And giving up. I heard somebody talk about it today, how the Browns gave up all their first round picks. They gave up their first round picks so they wouldn't have to pick a quarterback. That's what people don't understand. This was at a time where the NFL had apologized after not listening to NFL players, after Colin Kaepernick. It was 2020, George Floyd. Who they hired? Stefanski. And what did they do? Give up their picks. Why? Because I didn't want to get none of these black quarterbacks that were coming out to the 2s and 3s in the first round. Kyler Murray was what, 2018, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Anthony. They didn't want that. So they gave up their first round picks. People think they had to. No, you didn't have to. You didn't have to give Deshaun $230 million. Why would you give somebody $230 million and give up your first 3 picks, but you don't even play them an entire season since they have arrived? They stay injured, but they were never injured like that on their previous team. And you are benefiting from an insurance company paying his $46 million salary. And there's no incentive for him to be healthy, because you want them to pay his $46 million salary. When people start putting together the dots that they wanted to dip out of the social justice movement, but do things on the ground to make you think they're diverse by using black people for optics and optics only. Look at how they treat Andrew Berry. Look at how they treated Sashi Brown. Look at how they abused Shedeur Sanders. Look at how they injured and devalued every black quarterback that came through there. They took a different route during the social justice movement. They didn't want no parts of it. They just only wanted to placate with the visual optics. And their time is almost up, because their great white hope, according to them, is coming next year. So what Band-Aid they're going to put in place this year to stall, to hold back Shedeur, so he don't go out here and ball out and hold him hostage like they holding Deshaun hostage. So Deshaun don't get to play because we had to pay you, and we clearly didn't want to. And one day we'll get to that story, I'm sure. And Shedeur, we took you off the board. We're not letting you play. And then Malik Willis, come over here, because we don't want you to go nowhere else like Minnesota. So you just come over here with these other black guys, and all y'all just fight it out together while they slowly build for 2027. We owe it to these kids to level set their expectations. All right, so the video I wanted to share is the women's hockey team, not the whole team, but we talked about Layla Edwards, that's her name. And there was a story that goes with this. So let's watch the video and I'll tell you the story. All right. So this is Layla and her teammate, Kay Harvey. I didn't know, but they both played at the University of Wisconsin. Those jerseys are fire. Them hockey jerseys, those are, you're going to see those. Those are nice. They need to sell those. And come to find out, Travis Kelce and his brother, Jason Kelce, there was a GoFundMe somebody started, not the family, but somebody started it because the trip to go to Italy was expensive. And I think her mom and dad, didn't have it and people heard about it. So somebody started a GoFundMe on their behalf. Come to find out, they raised $60,000 or something like that. Some wild amount. I think it was $60,000. $10,000 came from Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce. So shout out to the Kelce brothers. They didn't have to do it. They did. We've heard about Kyrie doing things like this. So somehow these guys find out about these GoFundMes and they help out. So her family, her mom and her dad were able to go. And I just wanted to give them a shout out. And shout out to Kay Harvey and Layla Edwards being teammates all the way through to the Olympics, back at Wisconsin, coming home with the medal. And I heard none of them want to go to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. So, okay. I'm not surprised by that. I don't even know why that's news. So I'm just proud of, of them, for having that camaraderie, for going the journey together, and Travis and Jason Kelsey and others who gave so her parents could go. That was just kindness, just kindness. It's that part of the football, right? The people. Like I like the people that are kind people, they're good people. And I just hate that a sport that I grew up loving is just so ugly because the people at the top drive the culture and they make it that way. So when people say trade Shedeur, the hope for me is that he ends up on a team where the culture is not as toxic because they're not crazy. They're not so super racist that they have to want to destroy him. But they might have to follow the league mandate that he can't be QB1. So at least he's not abused until he's ready to depart, or until God opens the door for him to leave. That his experience would be better in a team where they treat black quarterbacks like they human. And it ain't Baltimore either. That's my hope. Because he does want to play, and he shouldn't have to give up his dream because they want to be racist. That's all it is. This never was about Coach Prime. Let's hope they find out how expensive racism is before Shedeur's time in the NFL is done. It's not a coincidence he came in with 20 million fans. So let's make it do what it do. All right, so I'm headed over to the comments to see what y'all are thinking. Hey, Ramon, how you doing? How you doing? Please like, hype, and subscribe. It said, remember that a goat without a plan is still a wish. That's facts. Hey, Tamika, welcome back. Thank you so much. Hey, Tina, welcome back. Good evening, Crowley. Good evening. Hey, how you doing, Faith? Thank you so much. I enjoyed chatting with you today. I think we were in the chat at some point today. Shout out to the WNBA players. Know your worth. Right. Please learn from them. And do you know they still, remember earlier today I was saying, I think they still negotiating. They are still negotiating the next CBA. And I think I was right when I said, I wonder from a business perspective, I think it might be the WNBA is letting them get their revenue share because they want the next CBA. They on that one. So this one is the last one in 2020. So they just not getting the 2020 CBA directives in 2025. I don't know what they asking for in the current one, but the one that they working on now. And I said, I think that's why they we're going to go ahead on and give them this money. Yeah. Keep fighting, ladies. Keep fighting. Keep fighting. And I don't care what color you are. Just keep fighting. Just keep fighting. And it's beauty. It's the beauty of it that you can stand up for yourself together. So they can't intimidate or coerce the one of you. I think that's the message. They did that together. Just like the women's U.S. hockey team. They did that together. So these players going to have to band together. Right? Take a cue from the women. They say, I trust 12 DNA. I know that's right. Thank you so much. Thank you. Hey, Amber, welcome back. It said Coach Marion has a powerful testimony. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I didn't know all of that. And Grok added something else. So y'all go check it out. I think Grok added another part about it that said, based on pre-injury scouting reports from 2007 to 2008, Brennan Marion was often projected as a second to fourth round pick in the 2009 NFL draft, thanks to his elite yards per catch, stats, and speed. Some optimistic views after his junior year saw him as a high first round pick without the ACL tear. He might have boosted his stock at the combine to solidify a day 2 selection. So that was from Grok, which is, I guess, like some type of chat GPT for X. So he shared that as well. So y'all, if y'all on X, go check out his page. I followed him. Since he had good perspective, he answered the question. And I thought it was, I hadn't heard that perspective yet. That is people's passions that kind of push them to overextend themselves. And I can agree with that part. I can agree with that part. However, I'm going to just leave it there. All right. So it said always get a second opinion. That's true. Sometimes you need a third. And you gotta pick your doctors carefully. You know what I read today? It said Houston, Harris County, Houston, Texas, is the deadliest place for women to give birth. I was like, what? That was shocking. I had to look at that twice. So maternal death rates in Houston must be really high for Black women. They were talking about Black women. It said Coach Marion interviewed a pregame network. Okay. Thank you for that, Mel. I hadn't watched him on there. Okay. It said there's a difference between who have your best interest versus who have their best interest. Facts. And we know a lot of these people like to latch on to these guys. Like he was talking about people that were pressuring him for the money or saying that he quit. I wouldn't give a damn what you think, but we not all wired the same. That's why these guys have to make sure at a very young age that they already have a good support system or they maintain a good support system. If Shedeur wasn't Shedeur Sanders, in terms of who his father is, not the legend in the NFL, but the way Coach Prime moves and makes decisions and is not unbothered, but undeterred by his adversity, he would have made that. If he didn't have a support system, he would also be depressed. Remember when I said he posted that sad face and I didn't know if it was about the things that he went through and when he was thinking about the young man that had passed away? What happened today? I guess all of his packages were put together and he was able to get them so he could get the focus on that. You see? Those are the types of things that make a difference. I think Coach Marion talked about how he didn't have a lot of people in his support system, but he did have God. And I always go back to Travis with that. So I'm and remember how they had an attitude, especially Skip Bayless. Remember how they had an attitude when Travis got baptized? Oh, that pissed me off. I was like, what the hell are you worried about it for? Do you have a problem with Jesus? What are we talking about here? That's what he should do. He playing a violent sport. No other sport would care about that. And that just makes me believe that they just want them to be broken. Somebody said to me earlier, Ball don't lie. Don't know whose page that is on X. He's like, I want so badly for us to start our own league. I get it, bro. I get it. Let's see how long it takes them to get it. Because they got to play. That's how I keep saying. I'm like, they got to play. I don't play. I can come from the business side, but I need them to play. And first they got to get it. They have to understand they have other options. You got to change that mindset. Instead, I understand what he's saying. Me too. I understand what he's saying. I can relate. Because when you are passionate, you do extend yourself. You do go past your boundaries. You do, like they talk about basketball players, how they will be outside all hours of the night playing basketball. But you can't do that everywhere. Some of them were able to do it because they didn't have, their parents weren't at home, or they only had one parent, or they was able to get away with that because nobody was paying attention, and they turned it into something positive, right? But I still think they need to come out of college, come into college, knowing that football is not your only option. Exit college, get that master's, knowing that football is not your only option. How about go to law school and become an agent? How about attacking from the financial side, right? There's so many pillars of the business of football if you want to stay close to the game, right? The analytics part, I think, is huge. There's a big gap there, especially I don't see any Black people crunching numbers. That's huge. There's so many different things that you could do. And I want that to be part of their curriculum, not just at Colorado. I mean, the business of football needs to be a course about the pillars and all aspects that you can work in football. It's not just one or two. It's not just player and nothing else, or GM if the plan don't work out. No. I get it. That's why Shedeur and Shiloh has a hard time not wanting to play. It says Shiloh spoke on the damages you're at risk of getting, but continue to want to play. Right. And the one conversation that I don't hear is the risk of CTE. I'm starting to wonder if they neatly package it and put it away because they don't want to. Because understand this, once you start to lose your cognitive functioning, you're going to have to stop. And you could have left college with it. And you're going to need to stop. You're not going to want to stop. If they really cared, they would test all of these guys before they left college. They would test all of these guys before training camp started. They don't care. That's why they don't talk about it. And that's where black players gonna have to protect themselves, because I'm not hearing about nobody else. This y'all. And y'all not the only people playing the sport, but you the majority of the people playing the sport. So we should hear about other people at least once. It's sad that he couldn't get the support he needed. Yes, we need to create better opportunities for our children. Absolutely. We need to level set their expectations. I said it. Go play some lacrosse. Go play 7-on-7. It looked like they're having fun out there. Every day I see they post. And I'm gonna be back out there. Somebody asked me, "You coming back?" Because Cam is having his maybe he already had it. I was like, I might. I don't know, probably. I want to get to a lacrosse game. I want to get to a volleyball game. I'll tell people, somebody said, "You encouraging them not to play football. What else are you going to talk about?" I said, first of all, I discuss multiple sports. And second of all, that is irrelevant. I was like, that is irrelevant. What the hell I want to talk about? So I'm supposed to sit up here and act like I don't know CTE is dangerous and the league is racist because I want to talk about football. Get the hell out of here. I'm not selfish like that. I don't do this for likes and clicks. I would have gave up. I would have gave up. I'm like, but you see how people think? Do you see how people think? That's how a lot of these podcasters think. No. Mm-mm. At the very minimum, they should at least care. Start there. If you cared, it wouldn't be as bad as it is. They don't care. They care enough to pay to settle so it don't go to court. That's it. I'm like, shit, I would have gave up if this was about likes and clicks. I've been at this for what, is it a year now? No, I enjoy what I do, and I get the opportunity to share knowledge. So I don't give a damn about that. Funny, that's how people think, though. Is they continue to be the roadmap for the youth to help navigate through this thing called life. Right? We have to be that. We have to be that. Any concussion should be taken very seriously. Do y'all know this award has had 6 concussions? I was like, should you still be playing? And when I learned, I studied about CTE and concussions, it said the number that you have, no more than 3, and how far apart they were from each other. 6 concussions? I don't know when he had them, but he got to cut that out. He got to make sure that don't happen. Oh, you saw the interview with Terry Crews. That was a good interview. If y'all haven't seen the interview with Terry Crews yet, talking about his experience in the NFL, it broke my heart that he had to live off of $200 the entire time he was in camp. Because I guess at the time they didn't get paid or something like that. And I don't even know if they still do. I think they get paid for the games, but maybe they get a stipend while they're in camp now. And he said, I guess they had a playbook back then, and he made it to game week, and they were struggling. And it was him and his wife and his kids. I was like, Jesus, I don't know if I could take somebody on the journey with me and have them to struggle like that. But they made it. He's still married to that lady. His kids are grown now, so they made it through. You have to have somebody good with you to go through something like that. But he talked about how on the cut week, he still had his playbook. He made it. He thought he was about to get the game check. But on a Monday or a Tuesday, the game was on Sunday. On Tuesday or Wednesday, they told him to bring in his playbook. That's all they say. One guy, I read his story. He said they released him and put his stuff in a trash bag and had it delivered to a hotel where he was staying because he was trying out or something crazy like that or something. But whatever it is, they put it in the trash bag. I'm like, I got no boxes? You ain't got no shopping bags that say NFL or thank you or the stuff they got at the Dollar Tree? What? A trash bag? So I listened to different people on social media tell their stories. And I said I wanted more people to tell their stories. So I'm very appreciative and make sure that I know that if I rebut it and I'm like, however, that doesn't mean I truly appreciate everybody that played this game in this league that tells their story. But I will possibly see a different perspective and handle the delivery with care, because the goal isn't to alienate. The goal is to learn what you see, and then for me to see it and go, okay, I can relate to that. However, can we do this? See, 2 things can be true. You can be passionate about something, and you also can understand that this might come to an end. So what else do I want to do? You see what I'm saying? I think the all-in concept is dangerous. Eat, sleep, football, I think is dangerous. And I don't think you should allow very young people to conduct themselves that way. Now, once they leave your house, and if that's what they want to do, you have done your best. But you have to, and you can't just let them, just like you can't let somebody be outside 24/7 with a basketball. That's dangerous too. Too much of anything is not a good thing. You have to have moderation, and you have to have a realistic view of it. You know, you spend a lot of time doing all this, and you say you want to go to this league, but the average career is 3 years, and then you got to prepare what you're going to do if you get injured. You got to ask those questions. Have you thought about what you'll do if you get there and then you get injured? What else do you want to do? You want to go back to school? Why don't you finish school first? Why don't you stay and take advantage of the NIL, all of it, while you're there? And for those people who have lost interest, like what's his name that plays? I think he left Colorado and went to Baylor. His friend came up from Sealy, Texas. Well, I forgot his name now. Oh, Miller, the other Miller, Draylon. His friend came up to visit Colorado. And he said, yeah, we played football all together from when we were little, but when he got older, like high school or somewhere or college, he said he lost interest. I get it. I didn't want to cheer in college. I loved it in high school, but by college, I'm done. I mean, I watched them cheer, but I didn't want to do it. I get it. So I get that part. And nobody needs to be pressured because they don't want to keep playing. But it's when the money gets involved and people feel like they can benefit. And that's when, just like us in corporate America, right? We might get a nice bonus and somebody might feel like we owe them something. Well, that's when you learn that those are not your people. So that's just a life lesson. That's not specific to football. Am I right? That's a life lesson. That no matter what, you can work at the post office. If somebody got money, they gonna want it. If somebody gonna want it. So you have to learn how to not try to feel like you have to hold everybody down, because we don't think that in corporate America. So why the hell should you think that? Don't put that pressure on yourself. And again, level setting expectations, especially with NIL. Now that high school athletes in Georgia can get NIL, this is the time to learn. This is the time to learn. Listen, you don't have to be out here spending your money on these people. These are not your friends. You can't buy friends. That's something you learn, whether you in the NFL or you in the 10th grade and you happen to have money or a car, and people want to call you and ask you to pick them up to go to school. I learned that. My parents taught me that. When you get this car, a lot of people going to start wanting to be your friends. And this is exactly what was said. I was like, okay. And they were like, everybody that's asking for a ride, no, you're not going to be able to do it. And you can't be late. So if they call you at the last minute because they missed the bus, you're not going to be able to do it. Maybe once, but that's it. And that's exactly what happened. I had people calling my phone every goddamn morning. Can you pick me up on the way? I missed the bus. These are people I didn't even hang out with. So they were right. These are lessons that you learn before you get to the NFL, so that when you get there, you already know they're not your people. So it said, remember today's youth stand a way better chance becoming a brain surgeon. Thank God. And you're right about that. And I say, thank God. The little guy I ran into in the elevator and I was just talking. I said, do you follow football? He told me, no. I was like, good. And that was it. That was it, guys. That was it. And it proves that everybody doesn't follow the sport. Everybody's not in the sport. It's already documented that Caucasian people are losing interest in the sport. It's documented that Hispanics are coming more toward the sport, that Black people coming more toward the sport. So, but then I've heard guys who used to play in the league who go back to coach like they high schools, like in Alabama. I listened to this one interview and y'all may have seen it. He said the school that he coached in Alabama, he couldn't even get enough of them kids to play football. They wanted to go home after school and play on their game, their Xboxes and their PS5. He said he couldn't even get enough kids to fill up a team for offense and defense. I was happy to hear that. I was happy to hear that. So we see a difference now with the kids coming up, right? That they want to do something else. Now you have NIL in high school. Now you have NIL in college. A lot of people, their ceiling is going to be college. In a couple of years, you're going to be like, I'm good. What did I say I wanted? I wanted these quarterbacks to go back to school. What happened? These quarterbacks going back to school. What do I want next? I want one of these current quarterbacks, well, especially the ones that's supposed to get like a contract extension, like a CJ Stroud or somebody, to say, you know what? I enjoy myself. Thank you, but no thank you. Can I maybe apply for a job in the front office? And if they say no, screw it. Bye. Go do something else. That's what I want. 5 years. That's it. Was it 4 years? The rookie contract, and that's it. That's what I want for Travis. Let's see, because they still calling him a bust. I don't want him to be battered for 5 years because they only wanted to put him at number 2, knowing they were never going to let him play both sides of the ball because they wanted to give Travis Shadour's money and Shadour Travis jersey number. Because you think it's a coincidence all of a sudden he can't play both ways? You think it's a coincidence that he was just injured and out for the entire season after he asked for his $31 million up front? And when I read to y'all Denzel Ward's contract, he got his signing bonus over 4 or 5 years. Nope. They didn't expect that from Travis. They thought they could control him. So I'm hoping he find 4 years in it and go enjoy your family. It said, if you find out something is hurting a person, you must tell them so they can make a decision. That's true. That's true. That's very true. It said getting injured, possibility of CTE and career time isn't worth it. Right. And think about how they allow these quarterbacks to be sacked excessively like Deshaun. Look at Cam Ward. I remember reading a story that was on the NFL website because they ranked the quarterbacks coming into this year. They had Cam at number 8 and they had, what's his name? JJ McCarthy at number 9. And it said, and I quote, the Minnesota Vikings have given JJ McCarthy the keys to the team. Now, I was like, how the hell they do that? And he didn't even have no film because that's what they want to do. And then the person above them was Cam. And they said, yeah, the Tennessee Titans got an O-line to protect their young quarterback. That kid got sacked 55 times. What happened to that O-line? And then we see the Browns out here being raggedy, going to go get it, trading mediocre for mediocre, for trading below average for below average, for wanting to keep Joel Bitonio. People don't like that. Remember all that accountability they were talking about? They got bunking because they wanted it to be some accountability. Where's the accountability for the O-line? Where's the accountability for bringing back Joel Bitonio when he's supposed to be retiring? Where's the accountability for trading mediocre for mediocre so Shadour can get hurt? Oh, they don't have a problem. They're going to have a problem. So all that accountability they was talking about was bullshit. So they need to start pushing for new ownership because they're not going to get no accountability. Clearly, that's obvious. Yeah, getting these quarterbacks sacked like that, that's disgusting. It said, I agree. The parents need to talk to their kids with everything that comes with playing football and encouraging them to play other sports or continue their education. Facts. Yeah, I totally agree with that. We have to level set these kids' expectations. Remember, we were talking about after the draft, we were talking about how it was discussed. Remember the players were in the locker room and that dude with them tight pants came in there, the brother, and he was talking about, remember everything before this? Let it go. Forget it. Forget who you were, this, that. And I'm like, the hell no. Isn't that why you drafted me? You see how they were telling them to forget who they were before they came to college? And we were like, before they came to the NFL, we were like, these dudes millionaires. They ain't listening to your broke butt. You want people you just paid millions of dollars to because they're supposedly talented to forget how talented they are. Forget how, I guess, loved that they are. That's what you want them. That don't make no sense. And how long is that going to continue with NIL before one of them go, you know what? I'm gone. One kid left and went to MIT. I don't blame him. Peace matters. So we'll see what happens this year. But we know what my wish is for one of these existing quarterbacks to say, you know what? Like Brennan Marion did when he got that phone call from the NFL finally. You know what? Thank you, but no thank you. That's power. That's what needs to happen in mass, actually. Then you might get treated with some respect. But as long as they think they got you over a barrel because this is where you want to be for the money. Not if y'all don't band together like the WNBA. Learn from the women. If you hide it on purpose, it's wrong. Yep. If you hide it on purpose, it's wrong. You can't do that. CTE is very serious. It said our men should not feel like they can't get the professional health and mental health that they need. It's time to bring awareness to the situation. Right. And it is definitely time. And we definitely got to do it because now they're trying to pin it on Black people. Oh, well, Black people get it the most because their DNA, they have heart disease. I'm like, really? Okay, that makes no goddamn sense whatsoever. Beating your head up against the wall or the equivalent of a wall is how you get CTE. And Black people play the most high impact positions. Why is that? Because they don't want who to get hurt. Just a reminder, Joe Burrow had turf toe, and damn near every Black quarterback, several of them, had serious season-ending injuries. That is not a coincidence, including Pat Mahomes, which means they played his expensive $400 million contract for 1 year. Yep. See, that's fraud. I don't know if I need to tell you that, but that's the pattern. And using our guys to do it, because they would never do that to their guys. I don't like that. Another great show. Thank you so much. Thank you, Tina. It said Greg Brooks discussed his life-altering 2023 brain tumor surgery, which left him partially paralyzed and unable to speak, and his ongoing recovery. LSU coach didn't even check on him. Think about that's crazy. Is that the young man, the fair-skinned young man with the curly hair? Where is he now? He's still alive, right? That young man went to LSU. Kyron Lacey went to LSU, right? Let me ask y'all a question. Was there any type of involvement with Rondell Moore at LSU? Or was it just a coincidence that people from LSU program was speaking out? Angel Reese spoke out. Some other people. I was like, did he go to, when I first heard about it, I was like, did he go to LSU? I didn't know. I think he went to Purdue, though. But we have to care about ourselves. If you're going to be in the league, you're going to have to care about yourself. I mean, I will remind you that at any given time, you can pivot and start your own shit. I just, want you to know that that's what it's going to be. And understand when God take hold of you and protect you from these people and show you what it is, he going to let you get hurt. So if you're on the bench, that's where you're supposed to be. Because if you get out there, you're going to have a double ACL or a single ACL or some shit that somebody paying for, or just even if your salary is cheap, let me just move you out the way. Because what happened when his fingernail got ripped off? They ran right on in there to put Dylan in there. And they asked him, so your finger's okay? He said, I would have came back out and played if it wasn't. Some people was like, nephew is built for tough. I'm like, Lord have mercy. Thank God. Thank God. But it's his mental they trying to destroy. And they got to a point where they were trying to destroy the physical. What are they going to do next year? Just point your attention to Atlanta and look at Michael Penix Jr. Let's see what God does. Let's see if the unexpected happened before that. I hope the owner get booted out. That's all I hope. Because that's what the problem is. And I know it's all 32 of them, but for whatever reason, his ball club seems to be the most toxic. So I think with him out the way, it will be less toxic until some other things shape. Coach Prime was happy to see Wester, the Florida boy. Yes. And he said Travis is a Florida boy too. But people forget. I believe CJ Stroud is suffering from CTE. And I don't believe that they're allowing Tua to continue to play. It's time for us to stand up and speak out. Tua's situation and CJ Stroud's situation. Let's address that. CJ Stroud is the person I don't want to sign an extension. I want him to, thank you. I don't have no problem saying it. They abusing him. They trying to get him hurt. They don't want to sign him an extension. It's time to start having a conversation, just like it was for Lamar. Did we read that they're supposed to be doing some kind of negotiations? O-lineman stepped on his ankle. O-line set him up. Then they let him get hit in the back like Shador did. Same thing. Who was over there? Monkey. CJ Stroud is when I say an existing or veteran quarterback, I don't want them to sign an extension. It's CJ Stroud. I want him to move on. You see what they did to Jay Daniels? People not happy about that. And Magic Johnson over there, so he could do nothing about that. So can't nobody do nothing about nothing. That's what just gets me. I'm like, how is it can't nobody do nothing? But maybe with the Epstein files, maybe they have some leverage now. Maybe with people coming out talking about all the Disney movies and all of the pedophilia, relations to the Epstein file, maybe somebody could do something. Because what did I say? Was I wrong when I said there should have been no way at all that Disney, next to Abercrombie and Fitch, had these young Black football players standing in front of that sign? Joe Burrow's covered it up. Could have been a coincidence. I ain't gonna bet $10 on that. But I will tell you, that should have never happened. That was the in plain sight. And I told y'all, I don't know how Geno Smith got on that list, but it was just Peyton Manning and Geno Smith. And I said, who was on it first? Because whoever was on it first lured the other one. So if Peyton Manning was first, then Geno Smith got lured and he Black. Who next? Who next? Because they clearly harvested people's DNA. Who's next? So you better be careful out there. Don't let them take you nowhere. Sound like you don't have a choice when you get there. I still ain't heard them talk about Peyton Manning. Only the Chat GPT talked about it. It said, it was wonderful seeing Leonte back at CU. Facts. It said stadium full to capacity. Go Buffs. Yes, yes, yes. And I think I am going to try to make it to somewhere. I don't know if it's going to be, well, I'm definitely going right up the street to Georgia Tech versus Colorado. We're going to start there. But I kind of wanted to make the trip to Boulder to the spring game. So the Georgia Tech game, check, and the spring game. And we do play Baylor, but I don't know. We got to see how that goes. But Baylor is just such a good memory, right? I want to see if it's going to be the same way. And of course, I'm cheering on, Juju. I'm cheering for Juju. And I think spring practice starts in less than 8 days, less than maybe a week or something like that. Maybe this week is the last week before spring practice or something like that. So we'll be watching that footage. But I kind of wanted to make the trip to Boulder. Finally, if I could deal with the cold in Atlanta, I could probably be okay. I've been to Colorado before anyway, so a couple of times. Actually went skiing up there at Copper Mountain. So I should be okay. Stop being a chicken. And put on a coat and some thermals. So hopefully it's not as cold. But I kind of want to make the trip to the spring game. That's what I was saying. It said in 2015, Aaron Hernandez unalived someone close to him and took his own life in jail. So I looked up CTE and they found he had severe CTE after he took his own life. Wow. And here's the thing. People say, well, you can't diagnose it until after the person died. I said, you can take a cognitive test to monitor your cognitive functioning. That's what they do with a lot of people who have brain injuries. You could have had a car accident and got, what's the first thing they ask you sometimes when things happen? Did you black out? If you did, they're going to send you in and they're going to start checking to see if you lost any brain functioning. And they're going to monitor it. Why is that any different for NFL players? In fact, that should be mandatory. That should be mandatory. So tomorrow we're going to listen to another NFL player's perspective and talk about that. I thanked him for his perspective, and he shared how his wife helped him get through it. So I thought that was good because remember I told y'all, well, where are the wags in all of this with the CTE? Like, how do they get these guys to start caring after themselves? We talked about that previously. So I thanked him for mentioning his wife because I wanted to know about, people need to know that the wags have a purpose other than TikToks. So I thought it was good he shared that. Shadua is the real deal. Facts. I'm sure Tyreek Hill has TTE. You think? Interesting. It said Bucky, us certainly getting married. Oh, Bucky is certainly getting married. Yeah, I think Bucky gonna marry her. I think that engagement ring is right around the corner. It said it's about time he married her. He taking forever. How long have they been together? I don't even know. I have no idea. All I know is his daddy might beat him up the aisle because remember Coach Prime told Carucci, well, he didn't tell her. He said when they were at Cleveland, he had something on layaway. She was like, wait, something on layaway. I was like, oh shit. So, double wedding, I don't know. But I think he gonna marry her though. Bucky is certainly getting married. Yup, I think so too. It said, I enjoy seeing Bucky and Leonte meeting up with one another. Me too. I want to see. I heard. Did we hear Coach Prime say he want to get grown up here? Talking about Shador. I want to see Jen. I want all of them just come up there together around CU Pro Day. I think that would be so good. Travis, or is it too late? April? No, it ain't too late. Travis, Jimmy, LaJonte, BJ Green, Cameron Simmer-Craig, Shador, Will Shepherd. Anybody else? Come on up there for CU Pro Day. I think, the cameras would love that. I think that would be awesome. I hope they could do it. It said, remember, they get fitted for all of their equipment from head to toe. So what does that mean, Ramon, when you say they get fitted for their equipment? It said, so Shador going to be working out at CU next month. So that's what he said. Remember, Shador said he started his, like the Legendary 2 on TikTok. He said to show all of his working out. So he going to be at Colorado. Okay. I like that. That's good. That's good. All of them need to go on up there. Go on up there. Go on up there. Go on. I think that's good. I think that's good. It's that Browns on some slick stuff. Always. We'll be back with them tomorrow. Again, if you're just not joining us, shout out to Emory Hunt for speaking up and saying that Shador is the best quarterback in the last draft and this one. Now, I will tell you, one of the reasons you're not going to hear me talking about, I don't know if I'm going to watch the combine. I'm not watching the draft. Let me tell you why I'm not lending any credence to Mendoza not working out. Because they only doing that so they can talk about Shador. He shouldn't even be the number one pick. So I'm not about to lend nothing to that. And shout out to Emory for calling that out. That kid is not the number one pick. He didn't say that. I said that. He just said Shador is better than him. They wanted Shador for likes and clicks last year. They're going to want Shador for likes and clicks this year. And I'll be there. I'm not lending no voice to that. Shout out to whoever going to the combine. If we got some buffs, let me know. I might watch that. I'm not watching it like I did last year. I think that's when I started live streaming. And somebody said, I remember when you only had 3 people. Wow, I'm this close to 7,000. So subscribe. In 1 year, so subscribe. But that was hilarious. And I remember we covered it like religiously. That's just a term. We covered it religiously. I'm not doing that because I don't like how they did Shador. So I'm not entertaining that because I think they just want to use Shador for likes and clicks. So they know Mendoza not the number one. They only drafted Mendoza number one so they could justify drafting Arch Manning number one. It's they're always trying to contain and manipulate our players. Facts. That's facts. It said the women's hockey rejected the invitation to the White House. That's absolutely facts. That's facts. 2-time WNBA champion Kara Braxton died after being in a car crash in Atlanta. Oh my gosh. I saw her. She was like 43, right? With 2 kids. And they didn't say how she passed. So thank you for sharing that with the community. I wondered. That's why I didn't want to mention it because I was like, okay, I'm going to have to kind of look into it. So thank you. In a car crash here in Atlanta. Oh, Lord. Got to be safe out there. Shout out to the women's ice hockey team, right? Right. They're going to have me watching hockey. I like those jerseys. Did y'all see those jerseys? Those jerseys are lit. Like, to be honest with you, they need to sell those. They need to sell those. I don't know if they would, but they need to sell those. Look at these. Wait, when we get to it. And look at the outfits they had on, y'all. So when they changed that right there, that must have been the opening ceremony. That's nice. I like that. But that's it right there. Wow. I want one of those. I'm going to have to see if we can get those. If they sell those, how much you think they cost? About $250? Those are nice. I like those. So I'm going to have to see if I can get one. It's time for our own league. I totally agree. Myles Garrett proposed to his girlfriend at the Olympics. I agree. Shador deserves to be on a team where there's not constant negativity. Thank you. Right. He shouldn't just stay there because they all in on it. What I've noticed is all of these teams aren't as toxic. The Browns are the most toxic, which is why they send people to end their careers there. And that can only be done with the help of the owner, which is why they need to push for new ownership. This team is beyond dysfunctional. It's corrupt. So they didn't want to talk about sabotage, but they had to talk about the dysfunction. We have moved on from dysfunction to corrupt. It's corrupt. That's just what it is. There's no denying it. The pattern is there. The evidence is there. And they try to get Shador to absolve Kevin Stefanski sabotaging him. Why? You was going to send him to Atlanta anyway. And somebody came to the comments earlier Niceville, and said the Atlanta fans are pushing back on Kevin Stefanski. We're going to see what happens. I told her, thank you. I'm happy to hear that. So I'm happy to hear that. Shador have a coach that been trying to get him in college. Who was that? Welcome back. 22. And Monkey did not try to recruit Shador in college. That is actually incorrect. But you know who Monkey did successfully recruit in college? The Manning kid. Until Monkey went to Baltimore. So now Monkey is back over with the Browns. Peyton Manning is in the inner circle with the Browns. The Manning kid. That's why Tom Telesco, who's also in the inner circle with the Mannings, came in to make sure Monken was hired. So Andrew Berry don't get no wild ideas and hire somebody else. So that's a done deal, unless that kid don't want to play football. Just like I didn't want to cheer in college, maybe he don't want to play professionally. I don't even know if he got a choice, though. The way some of these Epstein files read, some of these people's kids, like Prince Andrew, how they took his kids over there to see Epstein after he got out of jail. And they some girls. I mean, it didn't matter, girls or boys, it didn't matter, but they were teenagers, and I didn't understand that. Like, why did you make them go see him? Like, for what? Considering he had to be registered as a pedo, so what are we doing? So that's why I say I don't know if he has a choice. Maybe. All right, I guess we're going to get out of here. Thank you for sharing that, Tamika. I'm sorry to hear the WNBA champion, Carol Braxton, lost her life. She was very young, 43, with 2 kids, so that had to be heartbreaking. Shout out to the women's ice hockey team. Yes, it's time for our own league. Congratulations to Myles Garrett for proposing to his now fiance. What's her name? Chloe. Is it Chloe Kim? Something like that. Kim Chloe, something like that. Congratulations to them. I hope it works out. Tina asking 22. You really believe that? Great commentary as usual. Have a good night. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Absolutely. It said, I agree. They're trying to stop Black players from gaining generational wealth. Right. Because they use the draft as a wealth transfer system. That's absolute facts. So, and they feel like, well, when we apologized in 2020, we let all of them slide. Now there's too many of them. Shador was going to be number 17. Hell to the now. And they just stripping it all away, tearing it all up, blowing it all up. And it's not about talent. So there's no need to get hurt for this. If it's so manipulated and rigged, what are you putting yourself in harm's way for? Start your own league and make your own money and set your own rules that come with dignity and respect, and play the game the way it should be played, right? With integrity. There's so much you can do by starting your own league. So we're going to get out of here. This was excellent. Thank y'all for hanging out with us. We'll be back tomorrow. If you see any of my videos, hype me up, please. Thank you so much. And I enjoy the commentary and the engagement in the chat. So thank y'all so much. Have a good night. Thanks for watching What She Said Sports. I appreciate it, everybody. Have a good night.